What is it, do you think, about your game that has people just can't wait to see you on the professional level?
I think it's just the style of basketball that I play. To be honest, I don't get nervous for games because I just know this is fun for me.
Caitlin Clark sat at the podium, prepared for the customary post-game questions, shortly after yet another incredible performance on the court. But a seasoned reporter made a comment that totally ruined the plan. And she was stunned for the first time in a long time. Why is everyone still discussing what was said? Come along as we dissect a statement made by a reporter that left Caitlin Clark stunned. Media conference following the game. At Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the Indiana Fever had just defeated the Las Vegas Aces 94-87 in a crucial victory. With what many analysts referred to as her best all-around game as a pro, Caitlin Clark set the standard. Her stats thus far appeared to be from a video game. In 38 minutes of play, he scored 28 points on 11 of 18 shooting, including 6 three-pointers out of 10. He also had 12 assists, 5 rebounds, and just 2 turnovers. With a few weeks remaining in the regular season, the victory moved Indiana into the postseason. Cameras clicked, reporters scrawled notes, and Clark responded to inquiries with her customary composed assurance and fierce enthusiasm as the press room hummed with anticipation. Holly Rowe of ESPN had just inquired about Clark's developing bond with teammate Aaliyah Boston, particularly how successfully they collaborated on the pick and roll, which had contributed to the team's 18 points in the paint versus Las Vegas. "The trust between us is really growing," Clark remarked with a smile. "It felt like we were reading each other's thoughts tonight, since Aaliyah was patient with me as I got used to the time at this level." At that moment, she noticed Stephen A. Smith seated in the front row. Throughout the whole 15-minute press conference, he had remained remarkably silent. Unusual for someone who dominates sports talk broadcasts with his huge personality and loud, impassioned opinions on First Take. "Stephen A. Go ahead," Clark urged, gesturing to the renowned pundit who had covered everything from LeBron James to Michael Jordan over his lengthy career. What startling query did Stephen pose? Let's investigate. The unexpected query. Smith got to his feet carefully, putting aside the large personality and theatrical gestures that had made him one of the most famous voices in sports journalism. As he started talking, his expression was more serious than normal, almost contemplative. The atmosphere in the room was altered by his steady, serene voice. It didn't feel like a typical post-game interview anymore. There was more going on here. "I've been doing this job for over 30 years, he added to Caitlin. "Thousands of athletes from every major sport have spoken with me. I have witnessed teams at the bottom and champions. I've interviewed players and legends that nobody can recall. I've seen both veterans who fell short of expectations and rookies who stunned everyone. However, I have a question for you. I've been thinking about this since I started really focusing on you this season." The room fell silent. In the middle of a sentence, reporters stopped typing. Leaning in were camera operators. Even the media representatives from the Fever, who were preparing to wrap up the session, froze at the rear of the room. "I've built my entire career on being honest, even when that means being critical," Smith went on. "That's what I do. It is a component of my identity. When I believe an athlete isn't performing up to par, I don't hold back. I don't apologize for having high expectations, but this season, seeing how you've managed pressure, expectations, and the transition from college to the professionals has forced me to reflect." He stopped and rubbed his face in an unperformance-like manner. It was quite emotional. "There's something I should have said a long time ago, and honestly, I owe you an apology. This is my question," he said. "How do you maintain your professionalism and grace in the face of injustice from folks like me? Regarding your path to the professional level, I've been too critical, too fast to pass judgment, and occasionally just plain incorrect. I have to be truthful with everyone here, even you. You have disproved many of us, and you deserve far better than some of what has been said, particularly what I have said." But what was Clark's reaction to this? Let's examine it more closely. Clark's startling response. Caitlin Clark was at a loss for words for the first time in her professional career, possibly even since high school. The same player who had responded to difficult questions about her game handled the intense pressure of becoming the most talked-about rookie in WNBA history, confronted boisterous, irate crowds at Michigan State, and maintained composure under the bright lights of the Final Four at Iowa, was suddenly silent. She sat there, opening her mouth a little, then shutting it again. Her hands, which had been moving with assurance during the press conference, were now motionless on the podium. At last, in a faint, tremulous voice, she whispered, "Wow." The self-assurance that had gotten her through so many trying times appeared to vanish for once. She continued, "Stephen, I really don't know what to say to that. I honestly don't know what to say at the moment." There was silence in the room. Everyone was aware that they were seeing something exceptional. In a world where media appearances are typically meticulously planned, this was a really spontaneous encounter. Even Alyssa Smith and Kelsey Mitchell, two of her teammates who were on their way to the team bus, paused in the hallway and turned around. They sensed that something significant was taking place. Clark started over, attempting to find her voice. She was obviously still feeling something. It means more than you probably realize because, yes, it has been difficult at times. You asked me that question, and were willing to share what you just stated. The continuous comparisons to my college, statistics, the criticism. People questioned whether I was truly prepared for all of this, whether the fanfare was excessive, and whether I could actually make the transition from the Big Ten to the WNBA. She stopped, inhaled deeply, and appeared to calm herself. However, you know what? I was pushed by all that criticism. I put in more effort at the gym as a result. I studied more movies as a result. It forced me to show to myself as well as to others that I belong here, that I can be the kind of player and teammate this league deserves, and that the supporters who had faith in me were right. Then she raised her head once more, speaking more steadily. It's really overwhelming, but in the greatest sense, to hear you acknowledge that perhaps some of the early criticism wasn't fair. What does Smith then disclose? Let's investigate. Smith's subsequent correspondence. After giving a hesitant nod, Stephen A. Smith took out what appeared to be handwritten notes from his jacket pocket. This was obviously more than a last-minute remark. "There's more I need to say," he said. "I also need to speak it out since I've previously made unfair and poorly considered remarks on television. I have to accept accountability for that." He began to read from his notes. His tone was somber and regretful. "I claimed you were overhyped on First Take 3 months ago. I claimed that the media, particularly ESPN, was fabricating the frenzy about you in the WNBA in order to increase viewership. I said you had to earn the spotlight by proving yourself over the course of a whole season. Asked if you had the strength or speed to play professional basketball. I went so far as to say that success in education did not guarantee success in the workplace. Although there is some validity to that, the way I stated it minimized all of your prior accomplishments." Aaliyah Boston and Erica Wheeler, two of Clark's teammates, were now standing in the rear of the room, obviously moved by what was happening in front of all of the sports media. "But here's what I've learned since then," Smith went on, his voice becoming more intense and louder. "In your rookie season, you are currently averaging 19.5 points and 8.4 assists a game. In contrast, Diana Taurasi averaged 17 points and 4.4 assists during her rookie season. Subbard scored 14.4 points and dished out 5.9 assists. You're having one of the greatest rookie seasons ever based on your stats." The way he met Caitlin Clark's gaze felt intimate rather than like he was acting for the cameras. However, statistics don't provide a complete picture. Perhaps more than in decades, you have raised awareness of women's basketball. When your team travels, league attendance increases by 48%. The number of people watching Indiana Fever games on television has tripled. Your jersey sales have increased by over 200%. But it's about you, not just the money and the media. How you manage pressure, how you lead, how you give credit to your coworkers, and how you've improved everyone around you. Now Smith's voice was full with emotion. "Caitlin, I was mistaken about you. I was mistaken to think you weren't prepared. I was mistaken to say that you weren't worthy of the attention. I failed to perceive what was in front of me and evaluated you according to antiquated standards. You're more than just an excellent beginner. You're altering the way women's basketball is played. I sincerely apologize to you, the league, and my viewers for that." What was the response in the meeting room? Then, let's examine it. The reaction of the room. Even the most seasoned basketball writers had never witnessed the press room suddenly come to life. As photographers attempted to capture every moment of Caitlin Clark's emotional response, cameras flashed. As soon as they realized they were witnessing a momentous occasion, other reporters started typing and taping. It was evident that Holly Rowe, a reputable ESPN reporter who had covered many heartwarming events in her career, was moved. She continued taking notes while using a tissue to wipe away her tears. Knowing that this was a truly significant moment, Adrian Wojnarowski, who is renowned for his cool reporting on major NBA news, took out his phone and started recording. Attending the event as a special ESPN analyst, Sue Bird got up and began applauding. Others were inspired to follow suit by her gesture. The ESPN team joined in first. Then came additional reporters and even a few Indiana Fever employees who had assembled to see this unexpected event. Aaliyah Boston, a teammate from Fever, approached the platform and put a gentle hand on Clark's shoulder. A quiet but effective demonstration of support. As Clark stood in front of numerous reporters and cameras, still attempting to process everything, the gesture appeared to help her balance herself. Then she said something. Her voice had become more steady. "You don't have to apologize to me," she said to Stephen A. "We should be challenged by sports media. Asking challenging questions and holding players accountable are meant to be difficult. Your willingness to reconsider when fresh information alters your perspective is what counts most to me. Honesty and true strength are required for that." She glanced around the room and saw the gazes of reporters, some of whom had publicly criticized her during her difficult professional debut. She then on, and, to be honest, that criticism helped me. I was pushed by it. It forced me to put in more effort to prove to myself that I belong here, that I can compete and succeed at this level, that I can manage the transition from college to the pros, and perhaps even master it, rather than just to fans or reporters. After that, the topic of conversation changed. Raising his hand, Adrian Wojnarowski, who had been silently observing and filming, posed a contemplative query. Going back to what Stephen A. said about rethinking how we cover things, how do you think the media has changed its approach to women's basketball since you joined the league? He asked Caitlin. And what do you hope will occur next? Clark took a moment to consider his response. I think we've definitely gotten more attention, she replied, which is fantastic not only for me, but also for the beautiful women who have been creating this league for years and for young girls who look up to us. However, more attention also entails increased pressure, which is okay as long as the criticism is reasonable and grounded in reality. She looked at Stephen A., who remained standing and paying great attention. I admire Stephen A.'s current development. He is open to learning and listening. It's not enough to cover women's sports the same way you cover men's. This is something novel and significant, and it must be comprehended within its own framework. Another ESPN analyst who played in the WNBA, Rebecca Lobo, offered her voice to the discussion on the special opportunities and difficulties that come with being a woman playing professional basketball in 2025. You discussed utilizing criticism as motivation, Caitlin. Could you elaborate on how you've handled the strain of being the face of what many are referring to as the WNBA's new era? Clark gave a small smile. Her self-assurance had completely returned. That's the problem, she stated. I never intended to be the public face of anything. The pivotal moment. After that, Stephen A. Smith did something that shocked everyone even more than his previous apologies. He took a seat again, delved into his jacket pocket once more, and took out a thin, worn piece of paper that had obviously been folded numerous times. He appeared to have been carrying it about for some time. There's one more thing, and it's the most important thing I wanted to share today, he remarked to Caitlin. In New York, my daughter is a member of the middle school basketball team. Since your junior year. At Iowa, she has been tracking your progress. She once requested me to offer you something if I ever had the opportunity to meet you. He got up, moved to the podium, and gave Clark the folded paper. A few months back, when I was being quite critical of your professional debut, she wrote you a letter. She insisted that if I ever got to meet you in person, I would give it to you. I've been waiting for the appropriate moment while lugging it to games. With curiosity and obvious gratitude, Clark accepted the letter. As though she knew it was more than a fan note, She unfolded it carefully. Her expression shifted as she read in silence. Curious at first, then taken aback, then moved. Her eyes widened and then contracted as she concentrated on certain phrases. She appeared to be on the verge of tears as a warm smile spread across her face. She asked Smith, "Would you mind if I read part of this out loud?" He gave a brief nod. She cleared her throat and started reading with a mixture of happiness and intense emotion. "I think this is something everyone should hear," she continued. The crowd erupted in even greater laughter after the letter was read, and some reporters even applauded Maya's candid assessment of her father's basketball beliefs. Smith grinned and said, "She's definitely not wrong about that last part," which sparked further laughing and transformed the occasion from a typical sports media gathering into one of genuine warmth, comedy, and connection. What are your thoughts on the surprising statement made by the reporter that left Caitlin Clark stunned? Please share your response in the comments area. Remember to subscribe and like.